Yeah.
'Cause I thought today was good.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
some good shit.
so we started off with some kind of a deep dive into front poster motion and where and when people are getting their source of power as a front poster, right? I'm a front poster and you're a front poster. And we noticed that my chest levels, right, were a bit higher than Scotty's,
Yeah,
Scotty
we
Scheffler's.
use Scheffler as a model because he's the same matchup as you.
Right,
Just different heights, but
right,
pretty sure he's got longer arms than
Yeah.
height,
yeah,
longer wingspan. But we used him as a model because he's the best with this matchup in the world right now.
right,
He's literally number one in the world. Had one of the best ball striking years ever.
right,
Right, so it's a pretty
Yeah.
good model to kind of follow. But we found out that, yeah, that was a power leak for you, the chest lifting and pelvis lifting and not lifting and whatever. We saw the sequencing of how Scheffler did it and then compared it to how you were doing it,
right.
and there was a big difference.
Yeah. So basically, the way that I was working my lower body, to put it like in simplistic terms, was I was really trying to load in and get deep into my left side real early on like this. And Scotty has more of a look of his legs being a bit straighter up to the top, and then halfway down, well, going from the top to halfway down, he's really digging into his left side
Yeah.
and bending his knees. At this point, that's when he pops up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really pushes later.
Yeah.
And he's more into it, more lead leg flexion
Right.
from the top of the swing halfway down. He's
Right.
really here versus you were kind of there.
Right.
So now we were essentially changing you from this to this. Everything extends through from there.
Right.
So we did that drill where we split hand your grip. Try to get the handle low because this is where the handle gets lowest in the golf swing, and really try to add more knee flexion as you're doing that. So really trying to be scary low, and then as this releases, you can push up and release
Yep.
it. Get
Yep.
low, push up.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
was
And
like a good feel for you to start with.
right. And I was nutting it eventually. Yep.
And that big, what did that difference feel like to you? Was that like how did you think about it when you
Well,
were doing it?
So, a few things started to make a little bit more sense, like how close he stands to the ball, right? So if he's got to be here because as he's working his way up, his legs may straighten a little bit more, right? But then as he's working down, he's got to create this space, right? So when he starts off the bat, he's got to not have that much space here because he's going to start creating a lot of it here, right?
Yeah.
So like on the flip side, somebody who's more under, right? They're going to have more of this look going, right? Maybe hands a little bit higher, maybe a little bit further away from it.
With an open stance, yep.
Yeah, and working it that way,
Yep.
right? I hope that makes sense to people. Maybe you can.
Yeah, and we were
put
talking about it's like when a shortstop is getting a grounder going this way and still
Right.
side arm it to first base
Yeah.
versus an on top guy is more, I
Right.
guess, that motion, if anything.
Right. Yep. And then working with we worked with a front post under guy today, right? And that's who used to play a little bit of baseball. And that's exactly where we went with him.
Yeah.
Initially, when the first few swings that he made, fairly neutral setup, maybe even a little bit shut with his feet, right?
Yeah.
Hands probably a little bit too on the low side for being an under golfer, right? And then he kind of maintained the relationship between his shoulder and his left hip. His left shoulder and his left hip were just kind of all working together.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
So we had to get him some, like Mike Bender feels of getting that left hip
And you were saying Trevino a lot.
and Trevino a
Yeah.
lot, right?
Trevino for sure.
Mm-hmm. So we were explaining to him that basically he's got to feel like he's throwing a sidearm, right? And working the club like Trevino.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just fascinating to see the difference in what everyone needs to work on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because imagine telling this guy that, no, swing it more like us. Because we're the same matchups, essentially.
Right.
We're front post.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more on top than you, probably, by a little bit.
Right. You've
and-
got a little bit more external rotation than I do.
And I got more of this,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Versus you're a little bit less,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
So I might have some more steepeners, but mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, imagine trying to tell someone that's an under golfer this stuff versus he needs to feel almost the opposite.
Right. Right. Right.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Because that's how he likes to move naturally, and it's the easiest way for him to do it.
Mhm.
Versus for us, that feels not as good or
Right.
worse.
Right. Yeah, and so that people kind of understand in layman's terms when we're talking about like setup changes. So everybody wants to, and for good reason, everybody wants to get it in the slot, right? And there's a reason why a guy like Scotty, who's more of an on-top player, is going to be a little bit on the shut side, right? He's got more steepeners going on back here, right? So if Scotty wants to get it in the slot, he can't do it from an open stance with a whole bunch of steepeners,
He would have to side bend probably, or
right?
to compensate.
He would have to do this
to
nonsense,
get it
right?
in the slot.
Which is a big reason why when people come out and see us for the first time, you go, man, you've got all that unnecessary side bend and everything because you've been told that you need to shallow out the club and throw it out to right field, but you're an on-top player,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. On the flip side, Tom, who we work with this morning, is an underplayer, right? And he started off with a, fairly neutral stance, trying to work it from in here. Well, what's he going to be dealing with? He's going to be dealing with the club getting way too far back behind him. And he may have similar results of, early extension or lots of flipping
Yep.
to fix it, right? When if he wants to get into the slot, set up to it like Trevino with an open stance, and there you go, it's in there, right?
Relative to the target.
Relative to the target, right?
Especially, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because none of this is really applicable when there's no target.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell someone, open their stance. Well, why?
Mm-hmm.
When a target's in play now, then they can start to understand why.
Right.
I can aim this way with no target. It doesn't mean anything. But if the flag's that way,
Mm-hmm.
that's right for me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if someone's under like this, this is where they need to be.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
you can tell people how to stand, whatever, but it's all in relation to like the target,
Right.
where we're trying to start it, what
Mhm.
we're trying to do with it. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's just good examples there. I mean, two
Yeah.
different kind of styles and
Mm-hmm.
the differences. It's like
Right.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
An example that I have continued to bring up to you the last few weeks is, a young girl who's been told by multiple people that she's got to go neutral, right? And she comes out and she's a way under golfer, ton of external rotation. She already came out with a strong grip.
yeah, she was like this too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Can't even,
Yeah.
like 130 whatever
Right.
degrees.
And by the end of the lesson, we got her right hand even stronger than it already was, and set up a bit open really feeling like she's throwing those sidearms.
And hitting it 220.
And hitting it 220 with a driver, an 11-year-old girl,
It's
right?
pretty sweet.
Yeah, pretty sweet. And hitting it on a rope and not dealing with the, one flared out to the right, one snap hook.
Yeah, one overdraw
because of any sort of manipulation down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But once she was, all matched up, it was just on a rope, little itty bitty draws.
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
That's sweet, man. I thought that was pretty cool. Anything else? Should we hit a couple?
Yeah. Let's hit a couple.
Example?
Yeah.
A couple examples.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done many underswings, so let me try it. I'm gonna pretend I'm my friend George here. So I'm opening my stance, high handle, toe down.
Yep.
Ball's essentially back visually.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
rotate and
It's gotta-
extend up.
Gotta feel like it's way back there because of how shallow
Yep.
you're getting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Should I just switch my entire swing because I'm chipping good right now with this? I mean, I'll pretend like I'm going way this way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and then if you go on top.
Versus this feels so easy to me.
Mm-hmm. Ball's played further forward because you got a whole bunch of steepeners going on.
Exactly.
That's why your stance is shut so that you can, quote unquote, drop it into the slot, right? Mm-hmm.
And then to hit a high one, as an on top guy, I struggle with loft issues sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I really need to commit to the loft I start with and never try to add any.
Right.
I try to maintain the loft
Mhm.
throughout my motion.